Welcome back to The Price of Business. I've got Ryan Mauro with me. He's with a company called ClarionProject.org. And although I'm a little vague as to what they do, we're going to figure that out here in this segment. Ryan, you're a national security analyst. Tell me a little bit about yourself and the Clarion Project.
Sure. I work full-time for the Clarion Project, whose website is ClarionProject.org, and we're an educational nonprofit group that follows radical Islam all around the world, but especially here in the United States. And we've made a few documentaries that you can watch at our website, Obsession, The Third Jihad, and Iranium, and all have been critically acclaimed.
You know, I like your website. It's very clean, and I like all the content on there. And I really like your I guess you could say your motto, your challenging extremism, promoting dialogue. You realize if you say things like that in some parts of the world, you're going to get killed.
Exactly. That's the contradiction.
Yes. It's good. There's a little bit of irony there on your website. So where do you get most of your content? Man, it's very thorough.
Well, we have some of it comes from government documents. Other just comes from open sources that are out there. We're just constantly, our team is just constantly going through newspapers and other declassified documents. We've gotten stories through the Freedom of Information Act request. Basically, any method that you can get information from is something that we're pursuing.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and I think we need more groups like yours trying to make a difference. But when I hear what you do and I look at your website, there's a certain sense of Don Quixote in it. You know what I'm saying? Because of how overwhelming this problem is.
Oh, right. Well, it is overwhelming, but we also pay attention to the positive trends. So on the one hand, there are negative developments that are frightening, such as the return of jihadists that served in Syria coming back to Europe and the United States to carry out who knows what. But then there's also positive trends, such as the overthrow of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and the overall increasing unpopularity of the Muslim Brotherhood in countries that used to support them. So we could keep track of all of that. There's a lot of negativity out there, but there are some positive trends that can give us some relief.
Okay. Well, tell us, obviously this site looks primarily like a news site, and you definitely want to inform people and help people in that respect. But what are some other things you're trying to do to help increase more dialogue?
Well, one of the things that we're very proud of is the relationships that we have built with Muslim organizations and Muslim activists that don't take a wishy-washy stance on radical Islam. Sometimes when you deal with groups like the Council on American Islamic Relations, they condemn terrorism and condemn al-Qaeda, but then they defend Hamas. Or they say that the Jews were behind 9/11 or something else. We are very happy to work with, very frequently, with Muslim activists that don't believe in any of that and are trying to ideologically counter all facets of radical Islam, whether it's Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, or whether it's al-Qaeda, or whether it's just the demonization of the U.S. government and of police. And so we're trying to give them a platform in order to counter the more harmful voices in the Muslim world.
I want to mention to the listener, ClarionProject.org, that's CLARION project.org, ClarionProject.org. I like the emphasis again, the content. Very impressive site. How old is the organization?
We've been around since about 2006.
Okay, and I'm sure largely in response to what happened starting in 2001. This is kind of just another one of the results of that.
Yeah, exactly. And our objective was to really confront the reality that many Americans did not wake up to the problem of radical Islam. On 9/11, Americans didn't wake up to radical Islam, they woke up to al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is easy to understand because they scream at you, they say they're going to come kill you, and then they kill you. Everyone gets that. But the problem is
there's no vagueness about that, is there?
No, there's no gray area there.
Yeah.
But then you have other groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, Hezbollah, and other apologists for these groups that operate in the gray area that are very often nonviolent, some completely nonviolent, but still further the ideology. And so we're trying to broaden the discussion to confront the entire worldview of these Islamic extremists instead of just focusing on one group.
Yeah, you have any questions about the Muslim Brotherhood, for example, just ask the Coptic Christians of Egypt. Just ask them what they think about that organization. There's not much brotherhood there unless you're a radical Muslim.
Right. By brotherhood, they mean enjoying people that think like us.
That's exactly right. So is there a big emphasis here or an interest in the way Christians are treated in the Muslim world in your work?
Oh, definitely. We do document that. There's so much of that it's hard to keep up with. But definitely when there's a major incident of Christians being persecuted in Iraq, in Syria, in Egypt, or anywhere else in the Muslim world, that's definitely something that we document. And the Muslims that we work with are very happy to help provide us with information and stand up for the Christians that are being persecuted. And so one of the most powerful narratives of the radical Islamists is that there is a war against Islam, that this is a battle between all Muslims and all non-Muslims. And we're trying to undermine that narrative. And we're doing it by allying with Christians, with Jews, and with Muslims that say, no, the world doesn't really operate that way. That's just how you see things. That's how the extremists see things.
Right. That's exactly right. In the end, the most extreme groups, there's groups that hate each other among the most extreme groups because they debate over the origins of Islam and, who had the proper succession. In the end, they're going to be trying to kill each other after they kill the rest of us off. That's why we simply can't ignore how huge of a problem this really is.
Usually they try to kill each other while they kill us.
Yes.
That's what's happening right now in Syria.
Yes.
Al-Qaeda has killed more than 8 times as many Muslims as non-Muslims. And because they view Muslims that oppose them as being infidels. That there's other groups like the Muslim Brotherhood and some other Islamic extremist groups that generally don't kill other Muslims that disagree with them, and I emphasize generally. But still, their worldview is that there needs to be a Sharia-based system around the world, beginning in Muslim countries, and everyone has to live under that. And that's the worldview that we need to counter, this idea that Islam is not a religion but a political faith that seeks to establish Sharia law wherever it may be found. Here's a really good example. The American Muslim Brotherhood, which a lot of people don't know even exists. There's actually an American branch of the Muslim Brotherhood.
We got about 30 seconds.
Sure. Some of their documents have been declassified, and they state their objective in a 1991 memo as being, they say their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within. So that's something that we have to be concerned about here.
Yeah, that again, no mixing words there. Clarion Project, check them out. CLARION project.org. ClarionProject.org. And fascinating conversation. Thanks for being with us today, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Ryan Mauro, he again is with ClarionProject.org. When I come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here can be found over there at usdailyreview.com, and this is The Price of Business.